Good evening, my fellow fiends, and welcome to the ninth night of 31 Nights of Halloween, The Revenge. For the ninth night of Halloween, I want to talk about my favourite film to watch Halloween night. Now, I want to make things a bit more interesting and expand on the idea, so before I talk about that film, I want to talk about two other amazing films first, because this film connects the both of them, and more than you might first think. It's like the missing link between. Indeed, even the filmmakers of both have cited this film as an inspiration in part for theirs. I would say more than that, but I don't want to spoil these stories, as two of the three you may not have seen, and you should see them. And for anyone else, it's interesting. So there's a spoiler section at the end that gets into the nitty gritty, especially as some of it has to do with lore, the climax of each, and what they were trying to say. You still with me? Fuck Mila for that. And so the two films I want to talk about first, and yeah, it's also an excuse to show off more box sets, is The Blair Witch Project and more recently Late Night with the Devil. Now I only talk a tiny bit about each now, as it's more to do with the third one, alright? Surely we must all know the story of Blair Witch by now. In October of 1994, three student filmmakers disappeared in the woods while shooting a documentary, and a year later their footage was found. And for Late Night with the Devil in Halloween night of 1977, in an attempt to boost viewing figures, a struggling late night talk show host promises to broadcast television's first live possession. This is the footage from that infamous and extremely harrowing night. Right, now it's just a quick excuse for me to show off my gorgeous The Blair Witch Project box set. Look how fucking gorgeous this is. It's nice and chunky. This is second sight set. This has got the best versions of the films you can get. What's the film? It's got a couple of versions of it. Look at this beautiful book it comes with. Oh, it's gorgeous. I love all this shit, don't I? Gone back these forever. That has loads of cool background stuff, and again, people's thoughts on it all, and about everything around it. Brilliant. And then we get two discs, one with its things. We've got two versions, three versions of the films, and special features, which includes the old documentary that you should always watch before the film, the mock documentary. And what's even cool, the book that she takes around with her, the notebook that she fills it in, it's got a replica of that, so you can read it. You only got snippets in the film, you can actually read through it now, which is awesome. I love this kind of crap. That is brilliant. Not much visuals there, messages writing. And of course we've got some art cards there. Yeah, that famous The Old Sticks. Ooh. Bloody awesome set, innit? Now, unfortunately for the Late Night with the Devil, I didn't manage to get the Clicks edition when it come out, so it's kind of a basic one, but it still has all the extras on. Oh, and the other one, I forgot to say, Blair Witch, you've got an hour and a half documentary on there. Was it a couple of hours and a half? And you've got an hour and a half of like cut scenes. It's got so much good stuff on it. It's like the perfect set. It's amazing. Now, if you know both of those movies well, you may have already guessed what my favourite horror film is. If not, I want you to cast your minds back to 1992 on Halloween night. We were in England at the time and put the telly on at 9:25. The BBC was showing a Halloween special in the style of Crime Watch. Let's take a look.
Stop it! Stop it, Susie! Suzanne, you're coming with me.
So welcome live this Halloween night to the first ever TV Ghost Watch. That's the scene in Foxhill Drive in Northolt. Our outside broadcast units are there. That's the house where it might all happen tonight, or it might not. We shall see.
Long before Most Haunted or Ghost Hunters or any such show, if you didn't look too deeply, it was advertised as a live show at a supposed haunted house. With well-known and trusted presenters at the forefront, Parkinson in the studio talking to the audience and interviewing a specialist to do with the case. With Mike Smith in charge of the phones, and now even popped up on screen if you wanted to call in, just like the old telephone shows. Craig Charles of Red Dwarf fame mingling with the crowds outside the house, and a certain adored child presenter Sarah Green and wife to Mike Smith spending the evening with the family inside the supposed haunted house. No one expected much to happen, maybe some bumps in the night or an item moving on its own, but nothing could have prepared the presenters, the family, or even the audience watching at home for what was to come, and indeed the aftermath. Yes, the live show wasn't live at all. It was a pre-recorded and shown, but to many this was real, and what unfolded in that house and at that studio was real. My young dumb ass also thought it was real, and I'll admit, did fuck me up for quite a bit. The film not only became the inspiration for many that came after, including the Blair Witch Project and Late Night with the Devil, but also those previously mentioned shows like Most Haunted and Ghost Hunters, unfortunately. And all my days did it get the BBC in hot water. The aftermath was real, but not by today's standards. I believe in total they got less than 30 complaints. I could be wrong there. I don't know how much truth to that there is, but back then that was serious. The show was found to have broken certain rules and was censored, never to be shown on the BBC again. Even to this day, and it took until the BFI released it on DVD, I forget the date now, before any of us could get a chance to relive the night and seeing if the film lived up to the legend in our minds. And now knowing the truth, does this piece of television stand up as a film in its own right? And the answer to that is hell yeah, even more so. The story cleverly passing from studio to the house, what began as almost a joke for the family, where they named the weird sounds in the house at night pipes, soon becomes something much, much worse. What was part of it, of what its need to feel live and real, now give it a touch of fourth wall. Ghost Watch is constantly playing with the audience. A perfect example is when the camera pans across the girl's bedroom. You can clearly see someone standing in the corner of the room against the curtain. Several callers call in and point out there was something standing there, and when the studio team rewind the footage live and re-show it, the man is no longer standing there at the time, making you question had you really seen it, as it was live and you yourself couldn't go back and check the real footage. Pipes is dotted throughout the film, sometimes in the reflection of a mirror or glass door, hiding in the curtain, or at some point hiding amongst the crowd in the outside. It's fun to see if you can spot every appearance, and when you do, that goosebumpy feeling return once more. Even after all these years, to this day, I still don't think I found them all. Right, before we get on to the connections, this is my excuse to show off the box sets. So on the left here you can see the original DVD of Ghost Watch, and on the right is the cool new Blu-ray, which we'll get into in a minute. So this one I think you can still get quite easily. I think it's only region 2 though, I'm sorry. But it's got a couple of cool little documentaries on there. There is a commentary as well, but there's not too much compared to that. It was just cool just to get it, to be fair, at the time, you know what I mean, because we hadn't seen it in years. But then look, when the anniversary came out, we got this big chugga wugga. You know I love me chugga wuggas. So there's that with the original cover. You can change it to have the new cover on the back there, and we've got more extras now. We've got a 30th anniversary documentary. We've got another commentary by two, now was it psychologists or film critics? Either way, the two girls are an absolute laugh. Blinding. Really like this collection. So glad I got it. And then we get, look at this, the actual script. It's awesome, and it's anointed. Anointed? That's the, anointed is the word, is it? You know what I mean. But this is really interesting. I always love looking for scripts, see what's changed. And then we've got another book which has got some cool, like, people talking about it, talking about what happened at the time with the BBC and all that dodgy stuff. But it's also got a sequel at the back to Ghostwatch, which I thought would be really cool. It's cool it's there, but I'm kind of glad they didn't do it. It's a little bit weird. And of course we've got some art cards. You can't go wrong with some art cards. There's Craig Charles, if you ever wanted him. That's Mike. I always forget his bloody second name. There's Parkinson's. Let's say about him better. There's the cool psychiatrist. Forget the actress's names. I do apologise. She's the one not playing as herself. That, I'm assuming, was Pipes. And there she is, the legendary herself, the Queen, Sarah Green. And now, as for the connections. Now, the obvious connections, Blair Witch tricked people like Ghostwatch into thinking it's real. And Late Night with the Devil is a show going out live on Halloween night, where things go very, very wrong, just like Ghostwatch. But for both of these films, the connections go interestingly deeper. So in the words of River Song, spoilers, we are now going into late developments in all three films. So first we'll talk about Blair Witch. The lore of Blair Witch is Rustin Parle, who was a man controlled by a witch to take children back to his house and kill them. Now the lore of Ghostwatch is Pipes was a man who died in the house and got chewed on by cats, who dressed up and was controlled by an old lady, a witch, to do her bidding. So, more than just a little inspiration, guys, yeah, it's the same backstory. And as for Late Night with the Devil, it's all to do with the viewers. In Ghostwatch, the presence in the house, Pipes, who's the man and the witch sort of together now, uses the live TV show to create a mass seance to make it more powerful, to first go beyond the house to the studio and then to everyone at home. And in Late Night, the law here is to do with whoever sees the murder becomes a part of it. And it was televised, so everyone who watched that night basically let the devil into their home. So in both cases, the presence got into the world, again, 2 counts, and that's not even including Late Night's use of the same footage rewind trick to show what we thought we saw, we didn't. I just thought it was an interesting thing, and probably why I adore Blair and Late Night, and bring that nostalgia feeling back. What sort of films would they have been if Ghostwatch never happened, if the BBC had followed the rules? Would these films exist at all, or be considerably different? It's interesting to think about, isn't it? The final thing I wanted to say is that you also have to understand the difference between Ghostwatch and Blair Witch. At the time, Blair Witch was after the fact. It was supposedly found footage of their last days, but Ghostwatch was believed to be live as it happened. Whereas Blair Witch was what happened to other people, Ghostwatch was happening to us, the viewers. We felt like we were part of it. But now they're just films. Something Late Night was always up front about, because it has to be, because the time of pulling things like that are long gone, aren't they, in this internet heavy world. Late Night knows this from the start though, but shows there are still wonderful things you can do with this type of storytelling, and for that I will always be glad. That's about it for tonight, my fellow fiends. Just enough time to leave you with one last little piece. See you tomorrow, and sleep well.
Round and round the garden like a teddy bear.